Okay, good. So good afternoon once again, everybody. So in the next 3 minutes in the chat section, just tell me where you're dialing in from and one expectation you hope to get from this event, where you're dialing in from and your expectations, so we know what we are working with. So in the next 3 minutes, we'll do that. Shaun, can you try unmuting yourself now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I didn't get the last point from you, Karen. Karen, can you hear me? Looks like you're the only one that can't hear me like this. So.
Hello, Shaun, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Oh, mine. What's happening?
Hey, still, I'm getting responses in the chat box. I'll just read them out. So, well, I'm currently in Oklahoma, and I hope to inspire people by sharing my experience at the end of this session. Bukumi says she's okay. So, Familusi, sorry if I murder your name. I'm sorry. Familusi says I'm from Nigeria, and I expect to get some insight regarding successful grad school application. Azizat says I'm from Lagos. Nice to meet you, Azizat, and I look forward to an insight knowledge sharing. Shehu says what? Okay, insightful knowledge sharing. Shehu, I actually can't still hear you. Can anybody hear me so that I know maybe it's from my end, or can anybody
Yes,
hear?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you too.
I can hear you and Shaun.
You can unmute yourself and speak if you want to. I guess you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I believe everyone can hear me too now, right?
Yes, I can hear you
Esther
too.
says she can hear me. Okay, so I don't exactly know what's going on. Okay, moving on.
I can hear Shaun too.
I think the issue is with Karen. She's the only one that can't hear me. And I'm joining from 2 devices now, so I really don't know what's happening.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Awesome.
Good.
So thank you very much for having me.
Okay. So Shaun, I'll just complete the icebreaker and hand over to you, right?
Yeah, no problems.
So Bukumi says, I'm from Ibadan, Nigeria, and I hope to learn from the great scholars here. Nice to meet you, Bukumi. We hope you can learn from us. Damilola says, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and I want to get more clarity on scholarships or assistantship, getting faculty member. Great, that's a great expectation. Ambrose says, I'm from Nigeria, and I look forward to getting enough knowledge about how graduate school application is done. Beautiful. We hope you get more insight by the end of today. So if there are no more, okay, so there's one more person, there's one more feedback in the chat box. Okay, so Esther says, I'm from Kwara, Nigeria, and I would love to learn from you all. Great, that is a beautiful expectation. Shaun, I have made you co-host, right? In case if you want to share a slide, or in case if there are people in the waiting room, you need to admit. Without further ado, I'll go ahead to tell us the basic etiquette of the meeting today. Mind you, this meeting is very informal. We are just meeting here to discuss, but then it will be good to observe some decorum, right? So if you want to speak, right, you can just raise your hand. It seems like I've assumed the role of moderator for this meeting. So if you want to speak, just raise your hand, or in the chat, you can type your question in the chat section, I'll get to it. Or if you want to actually speak, you can just raise your hand and I will call on you. I'll be moderating and monitoring. Also, I wanted to say something now, just okay. Also, if you want to turn on your video, that's fine, so we can have a feel of the people we are talking to, since we don't have any formal slides. But if you don't want to, that's fine. My video is on and you can see my fine face, so that works as well. So without further ado, I'll introduce Sheung to take over. So we all know Sheung, he's like one of our biggest scholars on the group, and I'll say he's the convener, right? Is that right, Sheung? You're the convener, right? You're the convener of that group, right? Yeah, because I know he invited me, and we met when we were preparing for visa applications and all of that. And he has been a good friend and a good buddy. So Sheung, over to you, please. Sheung, you're muted now, so please unmute yourself. I think you muted the wrong device. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I want to believe you all can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can.
Your side is we're getting echo from your side. Maybe you should log out from one system.
Okay, awesome then. Good. So it should be clear now.
Yeah, it's perfect now.
Awesome. So without wasting much of our time, we already have a drawn plan, but I would quickly try to run you through some basic things you need to know. So during the course of me running through, you may want to start coming up with questions and all that you may need, that you may have, sorry. So please make me a host with this account so I can share my screen, Karen.
I've done that.
Awesome. And then please kindly help me attend to people that are in the waiting room so they can also join the meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would share my screen. I quickly want to run through just basically everything you need to know. So I had this talk with an organization prior to leaving Nigeria then. So don't mind the slides. It's just going to help you understand basically all what you need for graduate schools abroad generally and in the US. So the very first thing you need to know is that in this journey, you're going to be having rejection emails and love letters. What are they and how you could get over them? So basically, a lot of people get into this journey without knowing their onions, knowing the exact thing they are supposed to do. And that's what usually brings about the rejection emails and love letters. So if you meet up with a scholar today, if you meet up with anyone studying on a full scholarship anywhere, definitely there's always a story behind that particular scholarship they've had. So there are specific ways you could actually go about things to make things quite simpler for yourself. So, and then for this journey, you need friends and motivation. If you're a one-man mopo, this is a call to you to do it, to actually get a number of persons that you have, that you share common goals, that you have like minds, that you can keep pushing and pulling one another together. I remember my friend then, Kunle is currently in Poland now. We both suffered lots of rejection emails, but then we were able to keep on going as a result of what? Motivation from one another. We meet quite every morning at work. We discuss, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? We decided to collaborate on publications. And then in the end, we were able to achieve our set goal. So if you are trying to work all by yourself, it may be the kind of wrong approach. So you really want to do what? You really want to get people that you can journey with at this very point in time. Mentors or mentor suite, choose wisely. So you need to connect with a lot of people who have been through the journey so they can actually guide you through the process. And then referees and their role on the field of play. You really want to be sure that you have a really beautiful relationship with your referees. So you should be sure that you have the best of referees. For myself and a couple of other people I know, referees even gave us a kind of open check that, guys, develop your own letters of recommendation, and then we can give you a letterhead or something, and then you can use it for your applications. So be very sure be very sure of who you decide to be your referee. Some referees will waste lots of your time. Maybe an application is supposed to be due in maybe 2 weeks. Some referees would waste your time, and then you are like, oh man, am I able to make this application? Some referees will just write like 2-3 lines of recommendation for you, which is necessarily not what is going to be able to help you act that position. So be wise enough to choose someone that can do it, that can actually recommend you, that can vouch for you, that can support you with the whole of their heart. And building a competitive profile, we are going to be running through that as the session goes, and then an employable CV, shooting your shots. So I would actually go back to what I had earlier drawn on the agenda. Let me do that now. Okay, so graduate school admissions in the US, who gets in and why? So that will lead me to this particular slide. It's no doubt that the US is actually, if I do not want to mince my words, is actually one of the best countries you could ever wish to have your graduate studies. So yeah, I don't need to prove that. US is actually leading when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to a lot of disciplines. So just see it as a kind of, in Nigeria, we have the top universities, and for you to get in, you really need maybe high JAMB scores, high post-UTME scores, and stuff like that. I have friends that decided to go for maybe medicine or something in UI and all, but they couldn't get in due to what? Due to having a score below the set point. So for those who get opportunities in the US, number one, I would say they are the resilient ones. And number two, they are people who have been able to prepare themselves in their own personal places before setting out to do what? To launch out the applications. So I believe that settles that. So since we are having a kind of informal chat, I would like you to understand that a couple of other friends of mine that are on this call, they are welcome to do it, to also drop their contributions. I think I have, how do I get the list of participants here? I think I have Gideon, I have Ayobami, I have Karen, then I have Emmanuel and Oluwatosin. So Gideon, I would like you to say something on that too. Applications in the US, scholarships in the US, who are those guys that you believe get it? And what do you think they do differently? Gideon, you can unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
So what's the question, please? Come
So
here.
the question is, graduate school admissions in the USA, what do you believe are the kinds of person that gets in? And what do you think are the things they do differently?
Okay, for graduate studies in the US, yeah, you have said part of it. Those who get in are those that are, those who are resilient, those who do not give up. And for graduate studies in the US, it's quite different. You have to take some standardized tests. You have to get recommendation letters from professors. Yeah, you have to write your CV and do all of those, but you have to be able to put your application together to, yeah, that you have to be able to put your application together and to like find, there should be a synergy actually between your applications.
Exactly the point. There should be a synergy between between all the applications. Now, thank you very much for that, Gideon. Thank you. God bless you for that response. So that will lead me actually to the next line. We are actually kind of behind schedule. So the next point is, the very first step is selecting the right schools. We all know that by now, if you're going to be shooting for scholarships and stuff like that, you should have your international passport. Although we are hearing that Nigeria is currently not issuing passports and stuff like that, you really need to find a way to figure things out. So I want to assume that majority of us have the international passport already. So after that, if you're really shooting at the US, like Gideon said, there needs to be a synergy between every part of your application portfolio. All right. So when we talk about synergy, that leads me to this. The very first thing to do, even before taking the standardized tests, before reaching out to your referees, before reaching out to every other person, the very first thing to do is draw out a list of schools that you think are doing what you're actually interested in, and you have a better chance of, gaining admission at. So I will share this Excel sheet with you. I don't know if you can see my screen. Let me just stop sharing and share this. So there needs to be a synergy. If you're going to be shooting at, we have three categories of schools in the US. We have the top schools. Those are the likes of MIT, the Ivy League schools, MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Cornell, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and all that. So there's a category of people that can actually hack the application process for those kinds of schools. Like, they have a variety of volunteering experiences, beautiful job experiences, they've done a couple of research and stuff like that. So you have to be very sure, is it this kind of top schools you believe your profile can fit? If not, please stay away from them. And then the second category of schools is the moderate schools, the likes of the R1 schools like University of Kansas, Arkansas University, stuff like that. And then we have just the safe schools that anybody can actually get into. So the reason I'm saying this is that, okay, if you are going to be shooting at top schools, you already know that by default, you need everything to be top notch. Really high GRA and TOEFL scores and stuff like that. If you're going to be applying to a moderate school, okay, I need a moderate GRE. If I'm going to be applying to a safe school, I already know that probably I'm not using a GRE or a TOEFL or something, and I'm just going to manage a GRE score or something. So there has to be a synergy. That's what I say. Once you decide on the list of schools, then you try to do what? You try to start scaling them down. So the choice of school depends on a couple of criteria. So one out of which is acceptance rate. I believe everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So initially I came up with a list of, this is 49 schools. Okay, what are the acceptance rates? What states are they? The locations, what course am I going to be shooting at? The application fees. Do they require the WES evaluation? We'll still get to what WES evaluation is all about. What are their GRE score requirements? And then what are the exact things I need to do? So after listing out the schools, I checked their location. Personally, normally I don't like very cold regions, but unfortunately, or maybe let's say fortunately, I got 4 offers, but as God will have it, I just had to come down to Ohio, a very cold place. So you want to be sure, okay, these schools, are they in the north or in the southern parts of the US? Will you be able to cope in very cold regions? So these are things you use to decide on the kinds of final schools you're going to apply to before you do it, before you take the GRE and other standardized tests. So after coming up with a list of schools, you come up with this criteria, just like an Excel sheet. It's a full-time job. You really want to be focused on it. Like you can see, I have like 49 schools here and the acceptance rates. Okay, which one would require very high scores from me? Which ones do I have better chances of getting into? There has to be a synergy. If you're going to top schools, you need every portion of the application to be top notch. If you're going to a moderate school, you're very okay with an average profile. So when I see people with 3.75 out of 5 dots trying to shoot at the likes of Princeton, Harvard, and all, I'm just like, wow. And they keep shooting applications and they keep getting rejection emails. The truth is, it's very difficult, but not impossible. So when you can actually target moderate schools or safe schools, why not do that? Have a master's from there and then probably shoot at the top ones you've always wished to attend. So like Gideon said, there has to be a synergy. Draw out your top schools, your moderate schools, and your safe schools. Check out their acceptance rates. Check the regions. Check the states. Do they support international students? If they don't, mark them out with red, remove them, and then you're very good to go. So after that, the next thing you want to do is contact their graduate coordinators and program directors. Graduate coordinators and program directors and graduate directors, they are exactly the same thing. All you need to do is go on the school's website, check the faculty you wish to join. I do recommend that your the course of program you would be applying to be very related to your first degree due to a number of reasons. Imagine someone who studied a BSc in education deciding to pursue a master's or PhD in computer science. So there's no direct link. The review committee wants to check, have you taken some necessary and specific courses needed for that higher graduate studies before? So if they see that you've not taken the necessary modules, rejection comes in. So I always recommend going in very related lines. So thank you for that. So I believe we are done with the first part of deciding which schools. We are 10 plus 8, 18. We are like 10 minutes behind the schedule. So I will just rush into the next. Does anyone have any question concerning coming up with a list of schools and then scaling them down? If you do, please, you could ask now so that my
Sorry,
friends.
I have a comment to make.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
When
Is that you, Karen?
Yeah, Karen, sorry.
Okay, please say
when
something.
you, I mean, this is everything, I'm sure everything we are saying here is from our own personal research and stuff like that. So it's not cast in stone. Different things work for different people. But I'll advise you, which is the advice I'll give to all my friends, right? It's good to aim for great schools. And I feel like you should not put yourself in a box by only aiming for medium schools, right? You should always at least have, in my opinion, have one very good school and have one very safe school. That's what we call it. A safe school that you know, but that's bad. You know, this school can't reject me. And then based on your discretion, you can fill up the middle based on how much you have for your applications. Why is that? You don't want to put yourself into a box by applying for only safe schools where your profile is way better. And then you also don't want to apply for only safe schools where you have a very good profile, because those safe schools might not take you because if they know you're using them as a safe school. Imagine you have like 115 in your GRE, graduated with first class, you have one application or two under your belt, and you're applying to a safe school. They know you're using them as a safe school. So you want to spread your tentacles as far as possible. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because my safe school rejected me, right? And my supposed...
Same as me, University of Alabama, it's not a rejection.
My supposed high school, I didn't meet up to their cutoff mark in GRE, you know, was the school that gave me admission, and that's where I am now. So you don't want to put yourself in a box, and then you also don't want to downplay yourself too. So it's discretion. And another thing is, I kept telling myself, I will not allow application fee affects the amount of schools I applied to. So I worked my ass off to get money to apply to about 6 schools. So if I know that if it doesn't work, it's because God does not want it. I've done what I can do as a human being. So there's that too. I just thought to add that here.
I think University of Alabama has this crazy reputation with rejection. Yeah, even like people with very, very great profiles were rejected last.
I mean, I
Or
couldn't
like
eat that
I was
night. Really,
rejected too in the I was
because
rejected by the chemistry
it
program.
was the very first application result I got. So I was like, is this US application really this tough? Because I had applied to numerous other scholarships. And then the very first one of this one was a rejection. I was like, oh, I don't
You
tell my
know,
mind. Say, oh, no, let's try
you know
again.
that if I would have guessed that a school would admit me, I would have just said like I'll get into University of Alabama. But to my surprise, I just got that rejection. Like what? So things are not cut in stones, and it's kind of very, very weird, different things at times.
Thank you very
So
much for that comment.
regarding what Karen said about application fee, I think I might have a little thing to chip in. The thing is, most people applying, most times, if they don't get into Education USA or ISI or any of those programs that pay people's application fee and all those exams, it's totally understandable that affording this application fee can be very, very crazy, and especially for fresh graduates that still trying to get their feet into the ground in Nigeria and all of that. So what I would suggest, or what I did, was that I applied to 6 schools, but in the end, I only paid application fee to 1 school. I would suggest people to try to gather the list of schools they want to apply to, and then very early, like probably in August, they try to mail the graduate coordinator, then express their interest in their program. They'll attach their GRE score, TOEFL score, their CGPA, and write this kind of epistle why they cannot afford the application fee. They might be very, very lucky and they'll waive it. 5 of my schools waived it for me. So I believe if they can write this compelling story why they cannot afford the application fee at the moment, so the school might be chivalrous enough to waive it. But at the same time, they might not waive it. So it's not that cut in stone or like that kind of sure. But at least it's, even if you have the application fee, it's still very right for you to just shoot your shot, whether they waive it or not. However, when schools waive application fee, things get very, very competitive. That's the problem, because a lot of people are not paying application fee now. Everybody can just throw in their applications. Even people that will not go to school, you can just see everybody will just put in application into Michigan Tech, not because they want to go to Michigan Tech, because Michigan Tech is not telling them to pay application fee. So everybody just drop in application fee when I not go to school. So there are pros and cons to this, but I still believe you should do your due diligence and then talk to that board and see if they can waive the application fee for you, and you should be fine in the end.
Thank you very much, Olaleko, my scholar at Florida. Thank you very much. So the bottom line of what we just discussed is don't just aim at only top schools, be very ensure diversity. Yes, don't limit yourself to only the top schools. Don't limit yourself to just moderate schools and not just safe schools. Yeah. I submitted over 15 applications. Top schools were like 3, 4 or thereabout. Moderates were like maybe 6, and safe were like so. In the end, definitely you should get at least an offer. So be very diverse. And concerning application fees, like Lakon said, you could write out to graduate coordinators. I wrote to University of Kentucky. They waived everything for me, maybe due to the GRE score. So they waived it for me and it was awesome. And then I would like to chip this in. Don't just stick to free applications alone. It can be very, very tricky. Like, oh, so school is waiving application fees for guys that attend the virtual session and stuff. They are just doing a marketing kind of thing. So if you could get some application fees to pay for some applications, please give it your all, even if you could borrow, because in 1-2 months after reaching here, you're able to pay back your debts. So don't just stick to free schools alone. And thank you very much. So the very next thing we ought to discuss, we are back in time now, is killing the GRE and the TOEFL. So basically, I recommend TOEFL for anyone shooting at the US. Yes, but if you're going to be shooting at Canada, UK, Australia, and all, you may want to write the IELTS. Number one, I think a lot of people say IELTS is easier, but for me, the TOEFL was way much easier. I prepared just in 1 week and it was awesome. So you may want to take the TOEFL, but isn't the standardized tests, what do you think potential scholars can do? Is it a necessary requirement for them? Should they bypass it and just package the application? So I'll be throwing that question to Ayobami. Ayobami is a current scholar of MasterCard at Carnegie Mellon University. So Ayobami, you could unmute yourself, please. So what do you think about the standardized tests? How can potential or prospective applicants ace those tests? What are those advice you have for them, necessary materials, prep tests, and all that? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, yeah, for that question. I'll try my best because there's no one size fits all. Some people prepare under 6 months, some prepare in 3 months, some prepare in 2, and there are some exceptional people that prepare under a month. But I think what really should be your focus is targeting like the highest score you can get. Like me, I didn't do TOEFL, I did IELTS. So I don't mind me if I'm a bit biased towards IELTS. I can't find it easier. Not because TOEFL is hard, but because I didn't do it. So that might just be my own bias. But when it comes to preparing for GRE, which is very, very essential if you have interest in attending US schools, because I've not really seen any school like they tell you they waive GRE. If they waive it, they won't give you funding. The chances of you getting funding is very slim, even though they tell you they waived it.
God bless you.
But yeah, it's very, very slim. So it's better you like prepare very hard for your GRE and get a good result. That way you are rest assured like no school can reject me. At least I know that aspect of it is done. So if you want to prepare, first it starts with your mindset. Like what are you targeting? Before people write GRE, a lot of people have already in mind the scores they want. Some people will be like, I'm targeting 340 over 340, even though we know, yeah, it's possible, but you need to really try hard. Some people will be like, okay, I want to fall within the range of maybe 330. Some people will be like, the minimum I want is 320. And they know that even if they don't meet 320, they would at least fall in the range of 315 and above. And 315, sometimes it takes God's grace for it as well. So it's good for you to know what you want. And when you are practicing, you are also going to be practicing like someone who wants 340 over 340. So the way the GRE is structured is definitely you have the quantitative, because I'm hearing GRE quant, first GRE quant. So GRE quant is more like, it's like mathematics, but it's not mathematics because it doesn't just involve you doing the calculation, it involves you using your brain. And there are a lot of things to it, like there are a lot of tricks, because you need to learn so fast as to be able to get all the question answer in as short time as possible. You always hear that, okay, there is the verbal aspect of it. Oh my God, you see that English? Sometimes you read the question, you're like, please, where did you get all this passage from? Where are you getting all of this English from? But I later came to find out that they were very, very, very important. And the reason why they were very important was because in graduate school, sometimes you see some notes. The grammar that is in that note, you've not understood the grammar. And how do you understand the context around it? So it's very important. That's why they want to test you using the GRE. And one very key thing is I used to advise people like before you register for your test dates, it's better you at least take one test, like one test of GRE, just for you to know how ready you are. Once you take the prep test, you can assess based on the results you get to be able to understand, like, I need to prepare for this exam under this number of months. Do I want to use 3 months to get ready for it? And that 3 months, you have to make sure you're really committed. Like as you're practicing with materials like the Magosh, Princeton, the Kaplan, as you're preparing, and then maybe you should be taking some prep tests, meaning that once you prepare, like maybe for like 2 weeks, try and take a test. See, have I improved? Once you prepare like another 2 weeks, try and take another test. Because the more you take this test, the faster you are, and the more you're able to pinpoint where your errors and your mistakes are. Another thing is don't do it alone, because we human beings, we are not like an island of knowledge, and there are times that you feel so down. In fact, it could even be depressing. Like John will tell me, GRE will break you. He says that all they say, GRE will break you. And it's not a lie. I'm serious. GRE can break you. Like you keep practicing, and then you take a prep test and you get this very awful result. I'm like, what is happening? But please, when you're taking the prep test, take it like within the time. In fact, if you can take it within a lesser time, it's good for you. Because if you cheat while taking the prep test, on the D-day, you can't cheat. The time is the time frame, meaning that you just have to like commit your time to it. And then don't lose hope. Like build that tough skin, like have that resilience, have that tenacious spirit, like to keep trying and trying. Like the first few months might be very tough, but if your end goal is what you have in mind, definitely the result is going to be better. And let's say that in your prep test, you are able to get like 330. That's close to like what you can have on the actual day. In fact, if you're so lucky, you can even have 340 or 340. But it all starts with your preparation, and like get someone to practice with. Have someone that holds you accountable. Have someone that you can talk to when the road gets tough, or possibly maybe someone who has written GRE before, who can understand the struggles you're going through. You can just try and talk to the person like, I was doing this, it's getting really tough. The person can say, oh, okay, maybe you need to watch some magush material, like maybe there's a video that talks about the tricks you need to use here, or the person can refer you to maybe a book or maybe a YouTube channel that can possibly maybe explain it further to you. So don't just be on your own and just think about. Another thing is, for me, I don't encourage people to just take GRE alone without having a school in mind, meaning that you've already started applying to a school and you're targeting that school such that after your exam, you can tell GRE to send your result to such school. Because what's there, if your result is very good, you now have to like pay double money to send. You can just use the opportunity of immediately I'm done, I can just forward my result to such schools. So that will really help you. And when you're taking it, just don't be scared. It can really be scary a lot of time, but don't be scared. You can do it. Other people have done it before. And you can also listen to stories of people that have very good grades in GRE. Maybe like people that you see they have 330, 325, 340, over 340. How did they do it? What are their tricks? When you see these people motivate you. And when you listen to their story, you can kind of pick some lessons from there and apply to what you're doing. So when it comes to TOEFL is just like, it's English, the reading. I'm just using the idea of my IELTS. You just do the reading, the listening, the speaking part, and then the writing. I think the most toughest part of such kind of select test for English is the writing part, because if you train your hair so much, it becomes easy for you to even listen so fast and be able to get everything out. And if you can learn with tricks for reading, I'm sorry. Let me just clear up. So if you can get tricks for reading, it's easier. But you see the writing one, people take it for granted. And at the end, if they're not careful, they kind of have low grades. So please take your writing as important as you take every other section. And don't forget, you can do it. Other people have done it before. So just put your mind into it. You succeed. Maybe if you need more information, you can always ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayobami. That was spot on and super detailed. So to sum things up, so like she said, you really want to be sure, like we discussed earlier in the meeting, you want to be sure you have a list of schools and then you have a target. So I recommend setting the target of 341 over 340, so that if you are below target, you'd come around 330, 320, and then you're very fine. And then during prep, you have a couple of materials, one of which is the Magoosh flashcards and some other flashcards. Don't be distracted by them. It's very good for you to go through them. I remember during my prep, whenever I was coming back from work, I just run through the flashcards. They can be very distracting, but just have an idea of those words. Don't just dwell on them. And then for the prep test, ensure you take at least one, like she said. Be very sure of your capabilities, and then that could give you some kind of heads up prior to going into the examination hall. And then I recommend stopping prep, everything related to the preparation and everything some days before taking the actual test. You really don't want to treat this like a school exam or something that you're going to read overnight for. It's going to wear you out like a total of 4 hours or something. So you really want to be sure you're in good shape for it. Take a full rest overnight and just walk into the exam hall. Again, it's a test of intelligence, not your capability. So it's not a test of intelligence and your capabilities or something. It's only a test of preparation, how well you're able to prepare for the test. So you want to be sure you are more than prepared before deciding to go and face it. It's not a function of probably you are a first class graduate or second graduate. First class graduates have below 300, and even people with 2.2, 2.1 have close to a perfect score. So you don't want to look down on the GRE. And then I think that will be all on the test. So we are kind of behind schedule now. So I would quickly run through the next 2 items on the agenda, which is first, credential evaluation, WES and ECE. So WES is basically a kind of evaluation. The US grading system is one that uses a scale of 4.0 compared to 7.0 and 5.0 that we use in Nigeria. I think UI has even transited from 7.0 to 5.0. Am I right? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, so so for some people, so for some schools, they want to know your grades, what your grades look like in the US scale. So awesome. So they tell you to do a kind of evaluation. Okay, what would be the equivalent of these Nigerian results in the US scale? In the US, an A starts from 90. We have A plus and A minus. Then we have B plus, B minus, then C. Then anything below that is a fail. So the reason why some people get rejections and all is because in Nigeria, you might have a 71A, and that 71A doesn't really make sense here in the US. 71A could be 70 something B or B minus. So review committees and everyone will now be like, this is a very low score. I was just talking to someone that said the feedback they gave her was like, on her transcript, she had just had 71, 78, 71, and it was a 4.7 something, and she was still getting rejections. So they were like, how come you're having really low scores? So in the US, if you're having around 70 something, it's like an average score. So they encourage you to do a kind of they encourage. So Ayobami said 79 banana is failing at school. So they encourage you to do some kind of evaluation of your transcripts to give you in foot herself. My highest was 89, and there were numerous A's. There were some courses you had 78. So if you're on that, I encourage you to do a kind of evaluation that could give you an equivalent of US result. So it's been kind of, should I say proven, or it's been kind of observed that the West usually increases your results. Probably if you have a 4.18, if you would do your West evaluation, the CGPA could slightly increase. So you may want to do that. And I encourage people with maybe very low to 1, close to 3.5, 3.7. If you could do West, although expensive, I encourage you to do it. West or ECE, find out whichever one your school uses. So I know a couple of schools like Villanova, West Virginia University, they require you to do West before they can attend to your applications. So I believe that will be all on West because we still have a couple of things to cover. Okay, so we will talk about developing the academic CV now. So Gideon is going to be sharing a slide with us, but before he does that, I have a couple of things to say concerning the academic CV. Where do I have this slide? Okay, so your academic CV is actually different from the CVs you use to apply for job interviews and all that. Yes, they are way much different. So if you are going to be developing an academic CV, and the very first thing, your personal profile is like, I'm very blah, 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 that shouldn't be. the very first item on your CV should give what your strengths are when it comes to academia. Let me put it that way. So it should detail your strengths in anything that has to do with research and what your research interests are. And then for the fonts, like you could see here, Times New Roman or Arial are very good. Don't use any fonts aside that. For me, I prefer to use Calibri. It gives that kind of academic feel. So for some items on it, I recommend you having, yes, let me now say this to you. For your work experience, we did undergraduate projects in our final years. You definitely should always have that as a kind of work experience, like undergraduate research assistant. That was a kind of research work. A lot of people don't know this, although we keep hammering and hammering and hammering it. So the very first research experience you have was was your final year project, and that should be part of your work experience. So you want to make that the very first item on your work experience. So it gives them a kind of, oh, this guy has done some kind of research work before and is able to do well in research. And then you should not have any false information. Before Gideon takes over, another thing I would encourage us to have is try to take some professional courses that are related to what you're doing, and then you could have it in the honors and certification section. Thank you very much, Gideon. I would like to give you like 5 minutes to just run us through what the academic CV or resume should look like. Thank you.
Okay. Can I share my screen? I can't share my screen.
Let me make you a co-host.
Okay.
You can share it now.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, so this was the format I used for my CV, my academic CV. So in general, the academic CV should have these things. First of all, it should start with your education, right? Your qualification, and then you have a stellar CGPA, you could include it, okay? Then it should follow, what should follow is your research experience, your work experience, like that. This is the way CV is, this is the way academic CV is being written in the US. This is the acceptable format. It starts with the name, then followed by your contact address. You could include your email, okay? Then you could include other things like certifications, your teaching experience, your skill and interest, publications, and so on, like that. I would share this PDF document on the group so that everyone can have access to it. So this is the format that is generally acceptable here in the US. That should be that.
Thank you very much, Gideon. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. So that will be shared on the group for people that are shooting at for 22 applications, so you can start packaging. So like you could see on the resume, there's no tab on referees and all. So a lot of people don't don't really see anything in adding your referees. They say they want to maintain the integrity of their referees and all. If you would have to include referees, you could just put something like available on request, so that whenever they need to speak with your referees, you could actually contact those that are available and within your reach. So that will be all on that. So we have 30 plus 8. We have 38 minutes left, and then the next aspect is developing the statement of purpose or personal statement. So before we go to that, I will just try to do a kind of recap on everything we've discussed so far. So when we started, the very first thing we did was understand what the whole journey entails, how you could do it yourself and develop that resilient capability. how you could improve your overall profile, because the US is actually one of the best countries you could ever think of going to have your graduate school and everything. And then the very next thing we did was, what's the next step after, okay, I've decided I want to study abroad? The next thing was you coming up with a list of schools. I showed us a kind of Excel sheet to help you draw your options and everything. So I told us we have to contact graduate coordinators, check the school's website and everything. And then the very next thing I remember saying was, okay, deciding to take the standardized tests. And then Ayobami gave us a couple of ideas we could use to kill the GRE, the TOEFL, and the IELTS. And now we just discussed the academic resume and CV. So now, Karen, please, some questions are dropping on the chat box. Please help me note them down. Thank you. I'll try to rush things up so we have more than enough time to attend to this question, to these questions, and have
replying
a kind of
questions
heart-to-heart
as
discussion.
chats, if you don't mind.
Sorry?
I'm trying to reply like most of them as chats. Chat them back if you don't mind. Yeah.
That works well too. That works well too. Don't worry, I will definitely have enough time to discuss your mind-boggling questions. Thank you, everyone. So now we want to go over to the statement of purpose, personal statement section, research statements, statement of research interest, research proposals, and stuff like that. So I'll be sharing my slide I used for a presentation at Education USA last boot camp. Awesome. I want to believe everyone can see my screen, please. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yes,
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can see.
I want to go into full screen mode. This tab won't let me. Okay, awesome. So you want to write the statement of purpose. I would quickly just run through. So introduction, what the reviewers want, the paragraphing, the structure, the writing ethics, and conclusion. Graduate school is actually crazy. Forget the pictures you see flying around on the internet, people chilling and enjoying. You have to write, you have to read. In fact, I recently wrote a manuscript and my supervisor was like, what's this? So you have to do a lot of writing and you want to improve on your writing skills and stuff like that. So the statement of purpose and the personal statements are ways to show your writing skills, how well you can write, how well you could communicate your thoughts in a fluidly manner and scintillating manner. So the statement of purpose referred to an SOP is a reflection of your personality that you portray in front of the admission committees. So after every other portion of the application material, you want to now talk to them like, this is why I'm fit for this. This is why I'm coming to your school. This is where I am going from here. Sure, you get that kind of thing. So does it really matter? Yes. Why? Because it can actually make or break your application. And then using that, you're able to portray to the committee how well suitable you have for the committee. So some SOPs would help you decide that, okay, this person is likely to be funded, or this person, we don't even need to consider them for a scholarship. So a statement of purpose is, these are the present characteristics I have, these are my present skills, and these are my interests. So this is where I am going to. And personal statement will be, this is where I'm coming from. Please help my career path. So what the reviewers really want to see, they want to, like I mentioned, they want to see your writing capability. So you don't just write anyhow, you have to pay much attention to what you're writing. You have to detail what makes you a unique applicant. And then you have to, in a portion of the statement of purpose, state what your research interests are, your career goals, and what is motivating you to wanting to study that particular course or stuff. So they want to see that you can communicate ideas to academic colleagues, like I said, and then you can communicate details and research works in a fluid and scintillating manner. They want to see if you've reached out to faculties, if you know what internship opportunities are available for you, and those qualities that make their schools distinct, why they should consider you. So the structure is for paragraph 1. I always recommend, although it's kind of becoming a kind of trite now, a lot of people just come up with a common saying and then they draw attention from there. That's how I write generally. Okay, there's a common saying from Albert Einstein. There's a common saying from a very great scientist. I draw it from there, then I try to connect the dots using that particular line. So I find it kind of difficult if I can't relate to something unique. So you may want to think of an anecdote that has helped you realize your professional interest, and then you could build on it. You may want to start from your previous experiences. Probably you want to study something related to medicine or something, and then you've had the opportunity of being heartbroken by the death of someone before. You may want to share that experience and state that it's a clear motivation for why you want to study medicine. You want to do it, you want to save lives. So you have to be direct and technical. No need beating about the bush, and you don't need to give general reasons. So for the second paragraph, that was it. For the third paragraph, I recommend you sharing your academic background and your professional experience. What modules have you taken before? Sometimes you may need to pitch your distinction by iterating on some particular modules you believed you really did well in. For myself, I did very well in manufacturing-based courses like materials and everything, had very high scores. And I just had to mention that in the SOP, like, okay, please see my academic transcript. I've been privileged to take modules on blah, 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 blah. And these courses exposed me to so. So you really want to portray that in your statement of purpose. You should highlight any books or studies that motivated you to pursue higher education. So you should discuss why you want to join a course. I think I mentioned that. And then some skills you hope to acquire. Now, before you mention skills you hope to acquire, you really want to be sure you have some skills yourself already. And that was the reason I told you to probably have taken some online courses of something. If your course needs a kind of programming perspective, take courses and be sure you are at least, if not a proficient programmer, at least you have some idea you are more than a beginner. So you could say that you understand the basic requirements and necessities of graduate students. They need to be able to, carry out data analysis, research, and all that. You can then tell them that you are adequately equipped with some of these skills, like you can use so software, you could use so programming language and stuff like that. So this is the particular paragraph I recommend you to portray that particular idea. And then for the fifth paragraph, I would encourage you to discuss your short and long-term goals. Although a lot of people say that they want to enter the industry, I think you should be very careful from this perspective if you are shooting for a PhD program. It's just for the statement of purpose. Your short and long-term career goals, I encourage that they are related to academia. I've always been interested in academia. After my master's or PhD program, I hope to probably do a kind of postdoc and continue with research. So that's a kind of green light to a kind of, how do I put it now, a signal to the committee that, oh, this guy actually loves research. Than you telling them that after your studies, you want to enter an industry or something, it can be a kind of turn on to them that, oh, this one just wants to come and get the PhD. PhD is basically for guys that want to enter the research area, that want to go to academia. So if you're not interested in research, why do a PhD? Do a master's and enter an industry. So you should be very, very particularly careful concerning this particular paragraph. Then paragraph 6, you should discuss what makes the university suitable for you, discuss some course curriculum and some faculty you wish to work with. And then paragraph 6, conclude your desire and readiness. Please highlight that part. Readiness towards joining the course. What things have you been doing? What particular portion of your character and your skill set have you been working on? You should portray the zest in you to succeed. And I believe that would be all on the statement of purpose. I don't want to run through the remaining slides so that we have enough time to discuss. So for the statement of research interest, research proposal, and stuff like that, from my school that I attend presently, that's University of Cincinnati, Ohio. So they requested for the statement of purpose and statement of research interest. So basically, the statement of research interest would ask you, what are your research interests? Sorry, I'm trying to run through the charts. It's kind of distracting. For the slides, I may not be able to give that out because it's an Education USA something. So I'm very sorry for that, but I'm very happy to review stuff with you and have course with you sometime to put you through. So for statement of research interest, you are going to be detailing some previous, it's going to be basically your research experiences, research works that you've done in the past, and the ones you're looking forward to. So they want to understand if you've been going through some works of the particular laboratories you're looking forward to joining. So when, how I did that was, okay, these are my research interests. I'm interested in intelligent and additive manufacturing. Okay, these are the particular professors I wish to work with. Okay, what are the publications they've had in times past? I ran through, I was able to draw some inferences. I was able to bring out some loopholes in the current research works. So I was like, okay, I could build on this research in this area, in this area. I've taken courses that involved manufacturing in this sense. I learned so from this. I've been able to do this in the line of manufacturing. So you're basically discussing what your past research experiences are and what you could do on what those particular laboratories have been working on. For a research proposal, you already have you already have probably some topics in mind that you could work on, and then you'll be talking to that potential supervisor or advisor of yours that, okay, I believe I could work with this topic, and then you have a kind of time frame, a timeline on those particular research you want to do, right? Okay, I think I'm going beyond time now. So, and then the last thing was statement of purpose, personal statement. I've always kind of shared that over and over again. Personal statement is mostly used in the UK, explains where you are at and what are your career goals. And statement of purpose is basically where you're coming from, what you could offer, and where you are going to. So I believe that we end that particular section for us. Just hold on with the questions. Okay, so for the section on obtaining great letters of recommendation, we have 26 minutes left. So I will leave it to Karen to discuss how we could obtain great letters of recommendations, who our referees should be, and what you could do to facilitate submission of your letters. Thank you very much. Karen, over to you.
Hello once again, everyone. So just to address some questions in the chat section before I start, the slides, as Shino has mentioned, are proprietary and they might not be shared, but I'm recording this session and I'll upload it so everybody can reference the recording. I guess it has all the slides and you can get whatever you need from it. So regarding your references, you will want somebody that you have worked with. It's always great to have someone you have worked with or have close relationship with that can invest time to actually give you good references or recommendation letters in creating it, that can also submit it, because some schools will tell you that your submission is not complete until all the recommendations have been submitted, and that is inclusive of the school deadline, right? So you want to turn in all your submissions before that deadline approaches. There are some schools you might apply to last minute. You need to have somebody that you say, sir, please, oh, it's dying minutes, can you help me? People would normally advise 2 academia, 1 industry professional, if you have 3 references, right? So it depends on you. You can do 2 industry professional, 1 academia. Just make sure that whatever the person is writing there is something good. And the person is not just saying you're diligent, you're hardworking, you're diligent, you're hardworking, so the person might just think you're diligent, you're hardworking, and things like, say you're diligent, you're hardworking, and things like that. But then you want somebody that can also say, Karen and I have worked on this project before, and she showed commitment, she delivered to time, she increased so by so margin, she's in the top percentile, not just that she's a bright student, right? Everybody's bright. Say things like she's in the top percentile of her class, she's in the 99th percentile, or the top 5 students of her class. She was able to conduct this research, or if it's like an industry professional, someone that can say, we worked on this project together and we're able to deliver this by her time management skills and things like that. Traits that can be accountable for, not just your qualities, basically, right? And it's easy to start building those relationships now. For those of us that are still in school, now is the time to start making acquaintances with lecturers or friends, reach out to them, you know. For those of us that have left school, it's not too late to reach out, to network with them. You can still try to make friends and just try to have close relationship. This is the reason why, right? And even after, another mistake we make, most of us, if we get admission, we don't even keep them in the process. I kept my references in the process. When I got admission, oh, I've gotten admission, but I've not gotten funding. When I got funding, oh, I've gotten funding. When I got my visa, oh, I've gotten my visa now. Because they want to know, right? Just to tell them that, oh, this thing you helped me with has pulled through. Thank you so much. Appreciation. The main reason is why, right? In this US, there are plenty of scholarships. You would think that there are scholarships when you're in Nigeria, but the main scholarships are after you've come here and you have your 4.0 GP, right? There is always one scholarship or another to apply for. And you will still need those references and those letters of recommendation. And for people like me, that when I got here, I decided to do a dual degree, I still needed to go through the whole process again. So imagine if I had cut ties with my references or my recommendations. So it was very easy to say, some of them, like Sheon has mentioned earlier, I have their letterhead already. So I'm just informing you, just in case they send you the email, you will know. Some of them even tell you, draft out what you think is nice, right? Of course, that's not what they will use. They will still work with it just for them to have an idea of. They might not remember, for instance, my supervisor when I was an intern, he didn't remember that we had facilitated a program in a big conference before, but he was the judge, I was the facilitator. It didn't sound really big to me when it was happening, but putting it on my statement of purpose means that we have not just worked in the office space, we have also worked on a national scale, and I delivered, right? So these are some of the things that will help when you chip into the reference letter yourself. Also, another thing I'll advise is, if you're applying to a US school, always wave to see your application, right? To see your recommendation. It just means you have some form of confidence in what your reference is going to tell you to post. So just, if they ask you, wave to see it, don't see it, let your recommender do it for you, and have faith that he will do the right thing. Of course, that is also dependent on the fact that you have chosen somebody that is by the books, or somebody that can vouch for you to be your reference or your recommender. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say, basically.
Awesome.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Just say recommendation letter as something that can say what you have said in your SOP is actually true. You want your recommenders to be able to say virtually the same thing, also able to prove virtually the same thing you have said in your SOP. If you have written in your SOP that you've had so experience, you've worked on so cancer cell line, you want to use a recommender to work together that can say, okay, between so year, I work with this particular guy and we're able to make this inference, we're able to move these studies forward. You need a kind of linkage between your SOP and your reference. So anybody that will be writing, or is a diligent guy, he comes to work very early, that recommendation will not fly. So it's better to, as Karen has advised, the best way is just to be very close to your lecturers. That's how it goes, because getting a recommendation letter in Nigeria is a war, like a very serious one. Like I was following my lecturers for like 3 months, asking for a recommendation letter. It's not very easy, but for those that are still in school, it's better to have this cordial relationship with them, where you can just walk into their office and be like, oh, I need this recommendation. You can even suggest, can you give them a template? Though you have to understand the lecturer. So you can suggest, can you give them a template? Can you give you a line, this kind of thing? But the best thing, just pick the right person. It doesn't have to be a professor. The person might be a doctor or something, but just make sure that person can write something very, very substantial, something very, very meaningful. Because 5 lines recommendation letter is not it. Seriously, it's not it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So just to reiterate what Lekos said, so people always make this mistake and they feel like you have to give the professor in your department, your recommendation to do for you, right? And not just you, everybody wants the professor to do a recommendation. What does the professor do? He just has like a template that when he gets a request, you just edit your name and submit it. So there is no emotion basically in the recommendation letter. So like Leko said, you want somebody that actually reinforces. So even if the person is a doctor, right? And you have worked, you had a course with him, and say on your transcript, you had an A in that course, or it's one of your best courses or things like that. Make the person, I think almost all the lecturers in my department in school wrote recommendation letters for me because I was in working relationship with most of them even after I graduated, first off. Secondly, I felt like it is not a do or die affair, right? The person is a doctor already, and not just that, I have actually worked with you and you can vouch for me. You don't have to be the head of department or the professor to write, because what happens is, I mean, the person has a good reputation and position, but at times the grad school doesn't even understand that, because, you know, the grad school has to admit you before your department even admits you, right? What they're reading is the essay. They don't even understand that this person is a professor or this person is a dean or stuff like that. What they understand is, oh, this is what this person said, and it matches what we are seeing in the SOP. So this person's story is genuine. This person has to be genuinely smart, right? So you just have to be smart about everything.
Even in the US, everybody is a professor, so they don't even know.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the details. I greatly appreciate it. So we would move on to the next session. I never knew the pioneer of our group is actually on the call. So I would want him to, I would ask him to unmute now so you could talk to us about graduate school interviews. So we want to assume that you've drawn a number of options for your selected schools. You've written the standardized GRE and TOEFL test and all that. You've developed your academic resume, and you've developed your statement of purpose. You've submitted the application to that school, and they are considering your application and have invited you for an interview. What are those things you need to bear in mind prior to that interview? How well should you prepare for it? So I would want the pioneer of the group, Emmanuel Guni, a current PhD scholar at University of South Carolina, to actually answer this question. Emmanuel, I believe you're on the call, so thank you very much and help us provide an answer to that. You have just maybe 4 minutes because we have to start answering questions now. Thank you. Ah, see fresh face. Ah, God, when? Unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
I think it is connection because he's unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you.
Okay. You said about interviews.
Yes.
Okay. After you have done all your applications and you're waiting for interviews, and by God's grace, you got invited for an interview. Okay. I think you might want to do some researches first about US interview, apart from whatever will be said here. You should go online, check some things about interviews and, write them down and start preparing. So when you start preparing for your interview, just try to be confident first. That's the first thing you need to know. They need to see you that you are confident and you are ready for whatever task you'll be given when you come to wherever school you are going to in the US. So when you get to the interview, I believe the first thing you'll be told is introduce yourself. And that's the first thing. They won't even tell you anything. Just, okay, can you tell us about yourself? You want to make yourself known to them in the best way you can. Give them a brief introduction of yourself. You can start with you definitely need to start with your name, start with what you are doing currently, what you have done previously, your academic background, a few experiences, work experiences and something like that relates to whatever research group you are going into. The research I mentioned before that you are supposed to do online, part of it is going to the research group on the school website, checking out those researches that they carry out in the research group, and try to link up whatsoever work experiences, your previous research experiences to whatsoever is in the research group. So you can talk about this during your introduction in the interview. After that, the professor might want to make it very easy for you and might also make it difficult for you. Interviews that I had, I think I had about 4. Yeah, it's not that much. So some professors made it very easy for me, and some made it very difficult, trying to hack some very critical questions from you. And if you don't know, just try to say you have not worked in that area before. Just try to be as straight as possible. You don't know. And if you can answer, try to give something very simple. Don't try to do as if you are brilliant. If you mention something that you didn't really work on before, they might want to question you in that area again. Try to make you talk about it, and you don't really have any answer to it. That won't be something very good. So try to give simple answers so as to make your interview very short also. And if the professor really wants you before the interview, is going to try as much as possible just to woo you and not ask you so much question. He will just try to tell you that, okay, this is what you're doing in a research group, this so things, and and you'll be very sure that after the interview you'll be getting your offer letter and something like that. But some that are not ready to really admit you will want to make it very difficult for you. But just do your preparations. Interview can go several ways, so I'm not really, I can't really say that, okay, this is how an interview will go for everybody. But definitely know that you are going to be talking, maybe just short talking, depending on if you're speaking with one professor or multiple professors. Like maybe it's a group interview they are doing for you, so everyone might want to question you on something in your CV, and definitely they are going to use your CV to ask you some questions. If you put some research experiences, work experiences, anything you put in your CV might come into play during your interview. So you might want to watch that too. If you don't know something, if you did not really do it, please, it's advised that you don't put in your CV, because it might backfire during your interview. Yeah. And if you are very assured that you can speak about everything in your CV, then put it inside your. If you can speak very well about your CV, put it in it, and during your interview you can defend it as much as possible. Interviews can be short, 30 minutes, 1 hour. In fact, it can get up to 2 hours. I had one that was above 1 hour, and I had, in fact, multiple interviews with the man. So he just wanted to make it very difficult. There was an interview I had that the man just started wooing me to come to his research group, like I should discuss any offer I had and just come and join him in his group. He's trying to tell me what they are doing. I didn't even see anything. He just kept explaining, you do this, you enjoy yourself. I later rejected the offer anyway because I got the offer. So just try to prepare as much as you can. It can be easy and it might be hard. You don't know what will come into play. So
awesome.
That's about everything I'll just say for the interview.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't prepared. I was going to say it.
That's okay. That's okay. I just wanted you to be part of the session, actually.
Yeah, so, thank you so much.
That's okay. I want us to actually wrap up with everything that we have on the agenda. So just to run through, like, Emmy.
Sure, can I quickly add one thing regarding the interview?
Oh, okay. Please do. Please do.
Oh, Emmanuel, thank you for that. That's quite awesome. Another thing I would like to add is that always make sure that at the end of your interview, you have a lot of questions for them. Because asking questions send this message that this person is very curious about the program, and then this person actually knows what he or she wants. Imagine you finish an interview and then you are like, the student at the end of their program, how many publications do they have? Where do they get to work? And then do they go to conferences? When they go to conferences, who pay for the conferences? And then Asking questions like this only send this message that okay, this person is not actually desperate about the admission. He or she also cares about his own or our own personal growth. So also ask how they help their students to maintain this kind of work-life balance and all those things. Just to make sure that at the end of every interview, you have this set of questions laid out for the professors. It sends this message of curiosity and someone that would like to be in the program.
Thank you, Olalekan. Thank you. Yeah, just to sum things up, for interviews, you really want to be sure you've gone through your SOP again and your CV, like Emmy said, so that your responses to certain questions wouldn't be contradicting. And let me ship this in. There was an experience where we made like 2, 3, 4 professors at a time, and then 4 professors we made were on the sitting panel. So they were like, what did you say your research interest was? I said it was energy applications. Another was like, but you did mail me too that it's manufacturing. Yes, yes. So the applicant then felt dumbfounded, like, oh, this is a shot on the leg myself. So be very careful when you're mailing professors. You never can tell who the interview committees will be. And then this is a bottom line. They are actually more interested in hearing how you think rather than what you think. So if you don't, like Emi said, if you are not too sure of a particular answer to it, if you are not sure of answers to a particular question, be free. Oyinbo guys are actually free. You don't need to try of kind the corner way to, get things done. Just be straightforward and direct. They are more interested in hearing how you think rather than what you think. So we have exactly 6 minutes left at the end of the call, but I would love us to actually answer some questions from everyone. So I will just quickly run through the last 2 items on the agenda. So which are, where is it? Okay, do it yourself and how to persevere. Really, you are going to be having, let me not say, just get used to the rejection aspect of this thing. Like it was Lakon that said the very first we applied to was a rejection. Myself too, it was a rejection. I had applied to some numerous other scholarships and they were rejections, but in the end I was placed on numerous assemblies, got some other scholarships and got multiple PhD funded offers. So learn how to do it yourself. You could talk to people that could help you out, definitely that could review stuff for you. In the graduate school, you have to do things yourself. A lot of people wouldn't have your time, but you could always inquire. So learn to do it yourself and then be resilient and persevering. It's not always so smooth, but in the end, you'd be glad you made it. So please encourage yourself. For guys that have gotten the funded offers already and are preparing for visa interviews and everything, cross your eyes, dot your T's, ensure you speak to mentors for all zip codes on your DS-160, ensure you have them filled, ensure you have the best of referees on your application. We never can tell, they could put a call through to them, do some kind of background check on your application and everything before you appear at the embassy. So you really want to be sure you are not using any false information. If you're not employed currently, please feel free to let them know. And then if you are employed, no need to, start telling some kinds of lie. If you're married, let them know. If you are not, let them know. So be very sure, because once you get refused that or denied that visa or something, it could keep recurring over and over again before you're eventually able to figure things out. So I encourage you coming out plain to the visa, the consular officers and everything. And I trust God to help you. So if you're still trying to make decisions on your choice of schools, pray to God, talk to mentors, friends, let them help you reach a final consensus. If you have not paid your service fee and all that, you really want to do that before going for the visa interviews. And then hopefully all things end in joy for you and you're very able to book one of the best flights ever. So I want to end the call now. We have 5 minutes to the end of the meeting. If you're okay with it, we could actually add maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes more stuff before we actually end the whole call. So I would like Karen to actually anchor the question and answer session since she had been noting some questions. I see someone raising up the hand. Okay, Usman is still raising up his hand. Steve is also raising up his hand. If you have questions, please raise up your hand.
Can you
Karen
hear me, Shion?
Yes, I can. Karen, we
I
handle this
feel if
aspect.
you or Lakon or Emmanuel are not in a hurry to go, we can maybe take maybe 20 to 30 minutes to answer the question, because the questions we don't address today, we'll come back to address it on the group, right? And not
Yeah.
everybody's on the group. So I think we should just do justice to it. So if people call, we can always reference them to this material, you know. Yeah, that's my opinion though. If everybody's on ground, you can stay. But if you want to leave, please feel free to leave. The meeting is unlimited.
That's okay. I think I should still be here for the next. Yeah, Chelsea's match is in 45 minutes time, so I can still be here. Thank you. I'll be Bob Picky, don't mind me. Yep. So, okay, Yusuf has a question, and then there are questions dropping on the chat box. Yusuf, please unmute yourself, and then any of the admins and panelists could actually provide an answer to your question. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening from Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
In the US there. Yeah, it's good to join you guys. I'm really excited. And I'm seeing faces, of you guys. I was like, wow, I hope I'm one of these guys in the US soon too. I'm Yusuf. I finished my MSc from UI. I just got my document, international passport. I'm preparing to write GRE by God's grace. However, I understand that motivation is the key, and getting information from the successful people, the likes of Adekoya Oluwaseun, Karen, Ochi, and co. A friend actually got me invited to this event, but unfortunately, I got locked out because of bad network.
I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for that.
So yeah, exactly. Thank you, brother. And because of that, I'd like to ask that: do you guys have a group that can actually join to seek information, please? Maybe a WhatsApp group.
There's actually a WhatsApp group, but I'm afraid it's filled up already, and we had been contemplating on open a subgroup, but it's not so easy for us to keep managing two groups. So I really don't know. The thing is, some people exit the group from time to time, so you may want to send me a DM. As someone exits the group, you could get added up. It's actually easier for me to manage a group, focus on questions on a group than navigating between two groups. So that's okay with that. Thank you very much for your question.
All right, thank you. Now that's question one.
Sorry, let me answer your question. So our group is full, right? But I'm also a part of another US study group. That's when it's not full. So if you're interested, you could send me an email. I'll invite you to the group. However, I think we might need to migrate to Slack or something to accommodate the people. But I know having two groups is not going to be possible. And if we have Telegram, we might have to kill the WhatsApp because managing two groups might not be easy. Yeah. So just send me an email, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know your email though, but I will send you a DM after my question here. Just get your email. I just started coding, emailing professors. I think last week or so. I'm getting responses, but none is positive like we actually want it. Some will say, we don't have option. Oh, I like your, your research interest. I like your background. You have full grasp of what we do in our lab. Some are saying I should apply, but they are not sure if they will have opening. Some are saying I should just apply, but I've not really got one that will say, oh, I'm interested in you. Let me have a call or chat with you. I'm still on it. In the light of this, and coupled with what Mr. Adekoya Oluwaseun said earlier, when I joined initially, he was talking about checking out for the schools acceptance rates, and the acceptance of international students and the availability of funds in the school. So I'm trying to really understand this. How do we understand, or how do we realize the acceptance rate of these schools? How do we know if they are international students, and actually if they provide funding for international students? By the way, I read biochemistry, and my research focus is molecular cancer biology, because that's what I specialize on in my master's degree. And also I have a
Yep. Lakon, are you still on this call? I would like him to actually answer that question since you guys are working in the same field. I'm in engineering, sorry. So Lakon, thank you.
Okay, first of all, biomedical sciences, biochemistry is one of the most funded courses in the US. So the thing is, you don't really have to mail a professor to get a fully funded PhD program biochemistry, biomedical sciences, molecular biology, or any of those biology-related courses. What you have to do is, and then I can say, maybe not very, very sure, but I can tell you that most schools or most R1 schools fund their PhD biomedical sciences or biochemistry or molecular biology. So, and you don't really have to know a professor. So just go into the program, any program you like, meet the graduate coordinator, ask for average profile of their last admitted student. So if I may ask, which school have you mailed? Like, which school did you mail, professor, if I may ask?
Yeah, I've mailed professors in the University of Iowa. University of Iowa, I don't know the pronunciation.
Okay, yeah, Iowa, that's correct. And
okay, then University of Utah, Arizona State University. You know, I have the list, but so far I think I've mailed.
But I know, I'm very sure at University of Iowa, you don't need to mail a professor to be funded.
Okay.
I'm very sure for University of Iowa. And then this is another thing you can do. We didn't talk about this, but research in the US is very, very interdisciplinary. In the sense that
it's
very, very interdisciplinary. In the sense that you can have your undergrad in biochemistry, and then probably you have interest in maybe drug design or cancer biology, as you have said. It's very, very easy to see a professor in chemistry department working on the same subject interest. I don't know whether you get my point. So I'm just trying to say that you should try to, while looking for schools and programs, just try to spread your tentacles, look at biochemistry, chemistry, physiology, molecular biology, biomedical sciences. So I believe biomedical sciences, biochemistry is well funded in the US. So you can look at Florida State University, Iowa State University, so many universities, like it's well funded. You don't really need a professor to get admitted.
All right. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate this, brother. Sorry, I'd like to have contact details of Karen and Mr. Shiu. Can I get it?
No problems. We'll drop our contacts after the call.
And if they want you to get a supervisor,
okay, Gideon, thanks.
Yeah, if they wanted to get a supervisor before getting admitted into the program, it should be still on the website that you must get a supervisor that's interested in you.
Supervisor prior to being funded. Yes, some
it should be still on the website.
Outrightly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I got it now. Sorry. Mr. Usman, I think Usman, based on what you said, I think what I should look out for is the admission application cycle begins probably for the fall 2022, and then make application, as necessary. And if I'm lucky enough, I'll get I'll get admission and I'll get the supervisor without needing to code email professors.
Based on what Gideon has said, if they wanted to mail a professor, they will state that right in their website. They will state that rightly. But we are just saying that most times for that program, biomedical sciences, you don't have to. Because at the end of the day, when you get to the program, you still have to do rotations in about 3 laboratories before you finally join a lab. So it's not like a professor admits you directly. No, the program admits you, and then you rotate in 3 different or 4 different labs before you finally choose a professor. So technically, you don't really need a professor by applying to the program, but still try to do your due diligence by knowing what the program really wants, as Gideon has stated.
All right, sir. All right, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Azizat, you're next. Hi, Azizat, you're mute.
Okay, good evening, everybody from here. This is Azizat.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nico has said it all. And I think Mr. Yusuf said he wants to major in molecular biology and cancer biology, same as mine. But the question now is, for we that, due to one reason or the other, we had to look for work in a field that is entirely not correlating with our undergraduate study. So how do we bring it together? Like, how do we relate and connect it with what we are doing, our research interests and all? Because I feel you have to be plain when you apply to graduate school when it comes to it. So for me, working in the banking industry due to the whole issue in Nigeria, so how do I relate it with my research interest? Being
Okay.
a prospective cancer biologist.
The thing now is your undergraduate experience will still suffice for research experience for you to be competitive enough. So you've done undergraduate research where you learn basic fundamental researches that all skills that will be important while doing your cancer biology kind of work in your PhD program. So working in a bank at the moment is not actually it's not really a setback because you have research experience in your undergrad already. So and that's what you need. So I believe you'll be fine. Just you've already aced your GRE. I don't think you say just ace your GRE, but you've already aced your GRE. So you'll be fine.
Because do we really have to say, okay, yes, I already is my GRE. Also, does mailing graduate students, does it really have an impact? Because I've reached out to a lot of graduate students and they've really told me what to do, how they got into this. Does it really have an impact like that?
Yeah. Should I take that?
Yeah.
Let me take it.
You should do it. You should.
Someone wants to take it. Is it Kanye that wants to take it?
Yes, please. I want to take it.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, so it has an impact. I'll be honest with you, right? But many graduate students is like discussing with us. That's the best they can do. It doesn't have an impact based on they can't give you admission or they can't even recommend you to a professor most times, right? But it can give you a shot at being put in a good place. I'll say this because I call it coming body. I had a coming body coming here that's put me, that's how I actually met Sheung, right? Because I was having issues with my visa application and my coming body linked me up with Sheung and we became friends and all of that. It's good to have somebody like a contact person in the school that puts through all the process, because if you finally get in, it doesn't even stop there. When you get here, classes to take, how to go about your research, questions you have, it's great. But what I want to emphasize on is based on what has been going around of recent, don't allow anybody exploit you because they want to give you help because you're coming to school, or anybody, a student, collect money from you when they don't have an official consulting company, right? All they can do is basically give you counsel, and mind you, from their own opinion, right? Which is what we are doing here. It is from their own opinion. What works for you might not work for them. I wrote GRE, I wrote IELTS, I am here now. My friend was just IELTS, she did not write GRE, and she got her full funding too. So what works for you might not work for somebody else, but however, it's good to have somebody to guide you and lead you the process, but don't be gullible because you need that additional help. Because let me tell you, you can always get help, right? My friend in Germany needed somebody, a contact in her school, and from LinkedIn, I reached out to like 20 people. Out of the 20, 5 replied. Out of the 5, I found 2 that made sense and they were ready to help. So you just have to be, the whole thing, which I think Lekon mentioned at the end of the process. See, when you start this whole grad school process, it is resilience. You have to be ready to battle it out from start to finish, because it might seem like a lot, but it will actually prepare you for when you get here. There are some days I have, like, I call it like statue days, right? Because if you see like a statue, if a bird stays on the statue, the bird can pull on the statue, peg the statue can't do anything, you can't move. But there are some days you're the bird, you can do whatever you like and get away with it. So there are some statue days you have, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I am swimming. Like, I have projects, presentation, I still have research, I still have to work on my grades, I still have my class. And I'm like, guy, if I wrote GRE in a month, I can do and undo. We die here, right? We didn't come this far to come this far. So the whole thing is resilience. You have to be resilient when you're searching for schools. You have to be resilient when you start emailing professors. You have to be resilient when you start writing your exams. You can't just give up. You have to be resilient until you get funding. Even when you get here, even when you do everything to pay your service fee, visa application, some things that are not even supposed to stress you, might just stress you. Some things like even changing your money to come here, changing your naira to dollar. I'm like, sure we forgotten. Even least to go to market was an issue for us because we didn't want what we carry and they will send us back. So the whole process is resilience. Having somebody to guide you through is good, but don't get gullible because you want to have somebody, because there's always another person. People are disposable, honestly. Not like people are disposable, but like you can always get another person that will help you and be willing to help you. So don't be gullible because you need that help. The help is good, it's great, but don't fall victim or don't, and it's always good to get more than one opinion too. You mustn't stick to somebody in your school. I have like people in different schools just to know how things are going and make sure you're making the right decision, right? You mustn't say because this person in my school, that person must help me. You can also get advice from people in other schools and you're sure they're in the same area as you because they might be seeing it from another perspective. You've not seen of it, like when I needed help with my housing, I met someone that said something else and it worked for me, but it doesn't work. That's just it. Be vast and be resilient, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to actually chip in some other things. I'm actually going to be seeing things from the perspective of probably you contacting students in the lab already, right, Aziza? So if you're going to be reaching out to students in the lab already, it might, like Karen said, it might be a kind of added advantage to you. I would quickly chip in 3 scenarios. So there's a friend of mine that's actually coming over this August. So when she applied to our school, it was like, Yusuf, please mute yourself. So she was like, do I know anyone working in the entomology department or something? So unknowingly, I just linked her up with a friend I have currently in that lab. Fortunately for her, she was, the supervisor was now talking to the current lab student here, that what do you think of this person's application portfolio and everything. So it was total luck. I had talked to that friend of mine here about this person that submitted the application. So since I had already talked to him about it, it was kind of just God working things out. So he had no choice but to just recommend her to that professor. So he wasn't kind of biased or anything in a way that, okay, I know this person, she's good or something. So it may kind of be an added advantage to you reaching out to some graduate students in the school or in the lab already. So see it from that way, but make sure you are not exploited in any way. And I remember when I was applying for HKPFS, that's Hong Kong scholarship, I applied to a particular lab. I informed one of my referees that I was applying. He's currently working under professor. Then fortunately for me, the professor talked to my own referee, who was his current lab student, that what do you think of this particular application? So it was just like, oh, she already told me he's applying for this particular position. He just gave me a full recommendation. So although I didn't later get the funding and all, it may be a kind of added advantage at times. And then for this particular school I am attending, there's someone here, I didn't even know, it was just when we were talking, she said she never knew me from Nigeria, stuff like that. And she was like, oh, it was you that the graduate director was asking about me. So the graduate coordinator was asking her that, what do you think of FUTA? Do they do nice research works and stuff like that? What do you think of this person's resume and everything? She said she just nodded that, oh, FUTA is actually a nice kind of stuff like that. So the thing is, if I had reached out to her early enough, it would have been a kind of added advantage. She would just be like, oh, she has already told me submitting the application. She'd just give me a kind of 100%. So professors kind of talk to their lab students sometimes. Okay, go through this. What do you think of this person? Because you guys are going to be collaborating on some research stuff. And so it could be a kind of added advantage, like Karen said, but be very careful you're not exploited in any way. So thank you for that. So I will go on to Ambrose. Please come up with your question.
Yeah. I'm glad to be here. Glad to see your beautiful face. General, like I used to call you, Karen. You guys are amazing. So I appreciate the call and the opportunity. Well, mine just a quick one. Actually, I'm coming from a background that is totally different from what I tend to do currently. I'm actually going to the area of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I've had reason to contact some school, and the feedback was that I should try as much as possible to contact some professor or some professor in those grad school with my research proposal. But my challenge is this. I'm coming from a different background. I'm going to a different background, all the same. And trying to get to pick a research area is like a challenge to me. So I don't know if there's a way I can overcome that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your current discipline? What discipline are you switching to?
Yeah, I'm switching to the area of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I'm coming from the geological background, geophysics and background, the geoscience background. Yeah.
Oh, who would be a right person to provide an answer to that? Lekon, do you wish to go, or Gideon, or Emmy?
I can give a little advice, and probably Gideon can elaborate more. I believe you'll be able to answer.
Okay, Ayobami wants to help. Good.
Okay.
Ayobami is good too. Yes,
Good.
she's in line with data analysis and stuff like that. So Lekon, you could come up. Then Ayobami would ask things up. Thank you.
Actually, this is what I think you can do. With the way things are going with this current trend, you can actually machine learning or AI is like it's like sauce. You can put it on anything. So I still believe there's a way you can put your machine learning or artificial intelligence knowledge or interest. There's a way you can still apply it to solve problem. At least you can. There's a way you can write your SOP that would look like you want to address geology related problems with artificial intelligence or machine learning. So for you to look for a lab where that's what they do, where they solve geology problem with artificial intelligence. So, and then with the way US is that probably if you are looking to work in a pure AI centric place after your graduation, that's not a problem, because at the end of the day, you only get employed based on skills. Sorry. So I think there's a way you can just merge your artificial intelligence interest and then your geology. And then second option I would think is that if you have enough working experience in maybe computer science or artificial intelligence, that will actually suffice for not having a computer science background to apply for a data science graduate program or something. But I don't know if I'm providing best answer to this. I think people in computer should be able to do justice.
Yeah. Basically, I don't have a computer science background, but over some time now, I'll be trying to develop myself. Doing some online boot camp, doing some courses and all of that. All in an effort to have a foundation in that regard. So I don't know. Not having a computer background will actually be of a disadvantage, but I just want the experiences of you guys to.
My own take is that getting funding if you are switching discipline is very difficult. So when I switching discipline, it's quite difficult getting funding. That's my own take. And again, like Olaleko said, you can always find a way to apply AI machine learning in your own field, because IT is disrupting many things now. Like even in civil engineering, they're applying machine learning, artificial intelligence, petroleum engineering, just name it. Even in biological sciences also, bioinformatics. So you can always find a way to apply the knowledge of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on in your own field. So you just have to find a niche, or carve a niche for yourself, or find an area where it is being applied. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, so I had my own experience with this. So at Kandimalo University, Africa, that's the center in Rwanda, they actually understood that there are a lot of African students
that possibly maybe they took different disciplines, but they now want to like pick up technology courses. So if you have interest in AI, even if it's AI, applied machine learning, or you want to be a data scientist, you could try sending your application. So far as you can demonstrate the effort that you're putting in, you're trying your best. More like you said, you're taking online courses. What kind of online courses are you taking? Have you started getting involved in writing some programs? Can you understand how a program look like? That's like, what's the problem solving approach you have, if you do have that problem solving approach? And again, probably have you started working on maybe community projects? If you have all those things can add like an added advantage for you. Then when you apply and you do your master's, in the process of doing your master's, you're going to be able to acquire like all of the needed IT skills that would make sure that it covers up for the previous undergraduate maybe you've done. If you really want, that's if you're considering switching totally like from your core discipline, the one you studied before. Because even here we have series of students like that who've gone through different things in undergraduate, but now in postgraduate they're all in tech and their interest is in applied machine learning. So when you're going for internship, what I advise you to do is you pick your transferable skills and the knowledge you are using now. And that's what you kind of use to gain one work experience. Then from there, if you have interest in PhD, and by the time you're done with your master's, you already have like different experience in terms of IT. And you kind of know how you can apply those IT skills to solve problems in your environment. Then you can now pick maybe a niche and go for it. So I won't just advise you to like say that you're going straight on for PhD. Yeah, it might be nice, but those background knowledge, they are very, very relevant and they're very crucial. If not, you might get there, you might just find out that in the first few weeks, you find it's not as rosy as graduate school is. So I can advise, you can apply to my school. Definitely they reshape African students. And then you can shoot for the skies. That's just my advice.
Yeah, okay. Please, can you drop your email so I can email you on that regard, please?
That's no problem. I'll drop my mail.
Okay, so just to add to what Esther said, some schools also offer like dual degrees, like my school too. So if I'm being honest with you, it's easier to get funding for like traditional courses, right? There are some programs that we know it's easier to get funding for those courses, but then there are schools that these days offer like dual degrees or what do you call it? Dual degrees, basically. My school does it, right? So I'm doing my main degree in petroleum engineering and then an additional master's degree in data analytics and data science analytics. So it's going to take me more time, right, to finish my master's because you have to graduate. There are a lot of requirements. You have to graduate from the two of them at the same time. Your funding is going to cover the both of them, but you still have to pay the fees for two. So you might have to work like extra hard and stuff like that, but it's doable. So I think like Esther said, her school does something similar. My school does something similar. So I feel if you research enough, you can see schools where you can get value from the both programs, right? Get your means to an end and still pursue your passion. It's just research on your end.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your responses to those questions. And then we have exactly 5 minutes to the end of the call. So we would be taking the very last question from Tolu Lokwe. So Tolu Lokwe, you could unmute yourself and share your question with us. Thank you.
Oh, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but not so audible. So please, you could want to increase the volume.
Can you hear me now?
Awesome. Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you for everything that you've been doing. I would just really like to appreciate the work that you've been putting in to make sure that like a lot of us actually get in on this process. Thank you. So I'd like to ask, how funding like for master's programs?
Okay, so I think Karen would be able to do justice to that. So I may just be able to chip in some other stuff. So Karen, over to you. What do you think about funding for master's programs?
Everybody has this meeting that master's programs don't have funding. I don't know why. When I was going for my master, I said master's.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people use the PhD option to act the funding stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
PhD is
So,
great, right? Because I hear here in the US, if you want to get a job after, they prefer PhD than master. But that's all it means. I mean, that story will not apply to me. Everybody at their own head.
no.
But there are funding programs. I'm doing my master's degree, right? I'm sure I'm not the only person on this call doing their master's degree. First of all, I think at the end of the day, top schools are great, but you have to, it's good to look for top schools for your particular course of study. That's one thing people don't mention, right? I would not have applied to Harvard or Iowa or Stanford. Well, maybe Stanford, but that's because they don't offer my program of study or the course of study I wanted to study. There are top schools in the world, but they are not top schools in my particular program. So you have to look at that too, right? What schools are top in your particular program? And there are schools that typically are research schools, right? So my school is a research school. If you apply to a school that is typically a research school and they are really big on research, they will have funding opportunity. That's just the way funding works, right? The industry gives them money to research and they need students to assist them and they employ you, right? So you have to do your due diligence well. If you're applying to a school that is more based on academia than research and you're expecting them to give you a research assistantship, where are they getting the money from? So funding, I know all my friends, like my team, I prepared this for this whole grad school journey. We are all doing our masters. My friend in UL, I have a couple of friends here in OU. We're all doing our masters and we go full funding. So it's possible to get your funding, but do your research right. Make sure you're applying to a school that funds master's degree programs. Because if you check the school website, they will tell you, right? If you email their graduate school coordinator, they will tell you. There are some schools that don't even fund PhD too. It might interest you to know. So don't go and start applying to those schools at the end, you will not get your funding. So you have to do your due diligence at the end of the day, do your research. There are schools, a lot of schools that give funding for master's degree, actually, a lot. It is a myth, I've heard of it, but it was not an issue for me because I had not even met anybody that was going, that had the issue, right? So I didn't understand the process. So I just wanted to do my master's. So it wasn't an issue for me. So I feel it depends on the mindset you go with. If you're already going with the mindset that, sorry, let me use this person. If you're already going with the mindset that it's difficult for masters to get funding, might be difficult for you to get funding. But if you're already going with master, I want to do my master's and I'm going to get funding. I mean, it's great to do your PhD too, right? I would like to be called a doctor, but you know, it depends on your interest, basically. If you're really big on research, you're huge on research, I mean, you might as well go directly for a PhD.
I see you.
But if you want a graduate degree, I mean, I think more cut out for the, well, I had worked for 2 years before I said to go for a graduate degree, so I knew I still wanted to work a bit before I go to the academia. I have plans to go to the academia. And there are still some schools, like my school, you can't come for direct PhD, right? You have to do your master's, well, in my department at least, you have to do your master's before your PhD. There are still schools that you can't do the, great scholars like Shehu just to direct, go for your PhD. My school, you have to go for your master's first, then after your master's, do your PhD. There are schools like that. Of course, they will fund master's students, right? Because, you know, how then do they get that PhD students? So, like I said, do your due diligence. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Karen.
So how many years is the master's?
Well, traditional master's is between 18 months to, guy, school here is easy. It's your pace. If you want 4 years, you do it in 4 years. But the minimum I guess is 18 months. Depends on you, depends on how much you have, how much you want to flex. You can decide to do 2 courses every semester and spread it out. But me, I'm doing 3 courses and I'm going to spend 5 semesters. That is because I'm doing a dual degree. It's a lot of work. In short, I'm not even doing 5 semesters because I'm doing summer semesters as well. It's a lot of work. But traditionally, for traditional masters, I think with 3 to 4 semesters, you should be done without your summer. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully, we're able to end the call in less than 4 or 5 minutes. Two of my friends are just joining. Great and Oluwatosi from University of Kentucky. So before I actually let them give us a kind of departing words to encourage prospective applicants, I'm really excited to have you guys join the call eventually. So concerning fundings on MSc programs and PhD programs, what I would say is it actually does vary. So I have friends that applied for PhD programs, top schools, moderate schools, and the school would inform them that, oh, your application is more qualified for a master's program. So are you interested? So they could change it, convert it to an MS program for you, and then you could get funded. And for some schools, you just have to apply for the PhD by securing a supervisor, or for some schools, you get funding on admission. So for some schools, you could get started with the PhD program, and then the master's degree must be a major requirement. So if you are done with the master's requirement, your thesis or something, if you don't wish to go on with the program, you could actually back out. So it works in numerous ways. The best thing to do is figure out what works well in the particular school, contact the graduate program coordinator, the program director or something. Be sure which one is more likely to be funded. Is it the MSc program or is it the PhD program? Do fundings come on admission, or you still have to apply separately? So those are questions you want to ask graduate directors. Thank you very much, everyone. Before I let Oluwatosi and Kentucky to give us some kinds of heads up and all as we end the call. So I must greatly appreciate everyone who took part of this program. Initially, it was a total of 53 to 55 participants, but due to the timing, a lot of people have already exited the call. So we greatly appreciate you for coming around, and then we wish you an onerous journey that you've started. And for this meeting, we were able to discuss how you could be resilient, persevere, how you could shoot your applications, how you could build a really competitive profile, what your SOP entails, the personal statement, how you could draw a list of schools and scale them down, how you could contact supervisors and professors, how you could talk to your referees and get your letters of recommendation, how you could attend graduate school interviews, how you could start preparing for your travels, making your travel plans, the visa stuffs and everything. And then we were able to provide answers to some other questions. So Oluwatosin and Mr. Great, I just want you to give everyone a kind of heads up, encourage them how to do it themselves, how to ensure that they are not swayed by people who could exploit them, and how the journey has been for you guys so far. Just give them a heads up, and then we end the call. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. And I'm so sorry that we came late. We had to sort out some things. When Sean said encouragement, I was saying in my mind, even me now, I need encouragement. At this point, I need encouragement, and that will take me to. I trust we've had wonderful speakers here, people that the scholars, the real scholars. Some of us are just here to come and flex in the US, but
I don't get your time. I don't just get time.
But the real scholars, I'm sure they've said all the study this or do that one, do that one. I think what I will say is, first, congratulations to everybody that have an offer right now. It's a whole lot of work, and congratulations, you really deserve it. And to people that are still looking for it, please don't stop knocking on those doors, because once you get that one yes, it's really going to be worth it. It's going to be worth all the energy you've put into it. It can be tiring. Some of us have had to write GRE twice, tries, SOPs, rejections, and all, but please don't stop it. It's when you get that one yes, you will really see that it's really worth it. And don't also think that once you get the yes, and that's like for people that have gotten it, that's the end of the struggle. Trust me, the struggle only just started. those disappointed males, those you get reviews from professors, and you're like, I did my best. So it doesn't end there. You get some things that you want to cry, you sleep over it, you wake up, and then we move, we continue again. So it's not all this. And then don't have I would want to say, it's not like a rule or law, but don't suspend any part of your life for anything. Yes, I understand we have to put in so much effort, but as you're doing it, please live life along the line. Because once you say I want to keep some things, until when I get this admission, before I will not start enjoying my life, I will play very well. Trust me, when you get the admission, you don't play, you start preparing for visa. And when that one comes again, you start coursework. So anything you can do, if it is relationship, if it is family, friends, please let's incorporate everything to it together. And that's the only way you can endure the stress of the old PhD, masters, and all. We are all, it's not undergraduate degree. A lot of us already have the part of our lives. So we can't really suspend our life and say after 4 years, after 5 years, you realize your mate have gone on, people have lived life. So what matters to you majorly, let's do it. Trust me, I'm not the person that will tell you really, because obviously for you to be doing this, we all know that studying is important. We all know it's important. So we do not get here by not taking our studies seriously. It's just those other little parts that we might want to sacrifice on this table of admission or getting better in life. I'm really saying, because in the end, you look at it, the things that really matter, the things that make you happy. PhD is good, is great, but you also want to live life along with it. And one thing I've learned about here, particularly in the US, and I think it's going to be likely for other countries, is that there are opportunities everywhere, but nobody will open the door to you if you don't knock, if you don't ask for it. They will not come and place it for you on a platter. So feel free to, I understand we come from a conservative society where you don't talk until you're asked to talk, you don't ask for things, you don't want to be too forward. But it's okay here to ask for, oh, can I just be humble, be polite? You always get help. But if you don't open, if you don't shoot that email, you will not know if there's an opportunity there. If you don't ask, and then I ask, sometimes when I don't want to do some things, I ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? You tell me no. I'll pack, you don't even know me, you don't know where I'm from. You don't know my family. So if you tell me no, that's it. You tell me no, I'll move on again. But then you can also say yes. Even if you tell me no, you can link me to some other people. You can. So let me just ask it. And I know that the worst that can happen is a no. You will not beat me. You will not take away what I've earned in my life. And it doesn't make me feel less because I'm asking for help. No. Nobody got to where they have by themselves. Nobody flew solo. Everybody had one person at the other to help them through. So always ask for questions, always knock on those doors, and don't sacrifice the important things. I think that's just what I want to say. Thank you very much. Great.
Yeah, she actually.
Oh, did they just go off? Oh my. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much again, everyone, for joining this call. We appreciate you, and then we wish you all the very best, and all the very best during the course of your applications. Thank you, and thank you. Have a great one, a great Saturday. Yep. Karen, please, you could stop recording and end the call. Thank you.